All right, guys, thanks for tuning in today to Real Estate Steals, Deals, and Opportunities. Today we're going to talk about the foreclosure process and timeline. There are two types of foreclosure processes used throughout the United States. They are the judicial process and the deed of trust. It's typical that the judicial process can take more time to foreclose than the deed of trust foreclosures that you see. And a common question is, well, Sharon, is more time in our favor? It seems like more time would be in our favor because we would have more time to work out a deal with the owner of the home before they lose the property. And that's a really good question and something that you can ponder while we go through these slides, and then I will answer your question. In Florida here, we are in a judicial foreclosure state. This is the type of foreclosure process that I am most familiar with. We are full-time investors, we are brokerage, and we cater to investors, but we also cater to homeowners who want to sell their home based on whatever type of distress that they may be in, including foreclosure. So we're very familiar in helping people avoid foreclosure and getting a solution worked out other than losing their home at the sale. Okay, so we'll talk about these foreclosure timelines today in both cases. So let's start with the deed of trust states. And I want to mention that regardless of where you are in the country, you want to first know what type of foreclosure process does your state follow. Is it judicial or is it deed of trust? And then you want to zoom all the way down into the locations that you'll be investing. So if you are investing in a certain city or cities and municipalities, you're going to want to contact those local courthouses or those locations that govern and run the foreclosure sales, the trustee sales, whatever they're called in your area. And you want to find out all the way down to the detail of your local area, how those sales are run, how they're handled, what the redemption rights are, etc. And I'll get into that a little bit more. And that's going to make you the most educated in your own backyard. And, you know, it's a general topic, but the more you narrow it down to where you're investing, you're going to have more of a detailed understanding of what needs to be done in your particular area. Okay, that's going to also help you become an expert and more able to help people that call you up that need to sell their home quickly because they're trying to avoid foreclosure. Okay, so in a deed of trust situation, you start out with the borrower defaulting. And I want to mention here that a lot of people say, oh, well, after 3 months, then the lender can start foreclosure. And they say it's a law of how many payments are behind before banks can start foreclosure. And by law, a bank can begin foreclosure and pursue their legal remedies available to them after one payment is late. Okay, so that's the law. But we don't see that happening. We see banks take 60 days, 90 days, 6 months. You know, they all have their own criteria of when they're going to pursue and start their legal remedies available to them. Okay, so there's a period of time. See, there's not even a time amount of time listed here because we don't know that amount of time. The borrower defaults, and then by the time the lender contacts the borrower, that's day one of this process. The borrower gets contacted, hey, we are going after our remedies here to possess this home unless you cure. This is day one. So 31 days later, there's a notice of default issued, and this is putting the borrower on notice that you are officially in default. We are going to take this home to a trustee's sale approximately 4 months later. And over the next 3 months, you know, the public is notified. The borrower might try and figure out how they can cure and look for their remedies and maybe even attempt loan modifications or selling the home or short sale or whatever their remedies may be. And then day 121, the notice of trustee sale is put out. The world knows, hey, in another month on this particular date and for this particular amount, we are taking this home to trustee sale. So, hey, all you bidders and homeowner, this is your final warning. Okay, so the deadline to cure kind of ends at day 145 because we're taking this to sale. And then day 152 is a trustee sale, and that's the day that the lender will either end up owning that home or a third-party bidder might bid high enough that the lender says, let them just have it at that price, we're cool with that, and the third-party bidder ends up owning that home on that day. And so the process looks to take about 5 months here as long as the borrower did not fight or pursue other remedies, in which case the lender itself said, well, hold up, we're going to pause this. We're going to reset the sale. We're going to do something. We're going to work this out with this guy. Okay, there are redemption periods that are available to borrowers and other lien holders in certain states. This isn't common in every state, and this is why you've got to study how it works in your area. So some states have these really long redemption periods and redemption rights for other lien holders that are being wiped out in the sale. So, for example, let's say that there's a lien holder with a $20,000 lien on this property, but the first mortgage holder is actually foreclosing. So that second lien holder is going to be wiped out and get no money. But in some states, that person with that position actually gets a redemption right, and they have a period of time after the trustee sale to redeem, to go in and say, no, I'm going to take that house because it's what I'm going to use to get myself, made whole, or at least partially, whatever. So, and there could be a third lien holder or whatever. So those particular people might have redemption rights. Even in some states, the homeowner has a redemption right for up to a year to say, well, gosh, I know I lost my home, but I've got a year to still try and get it back. And so you really want to know that. You might go to a sale and go, wow, what opportunity. Nobody buys houses here. I'm going to be the only person buying. There's no competition. Well, it's probably because there's some insane, redemption right that makes these investors say, hey, if I can't buy it before they lose it or after these redemption rights are over and I'll buy it directly from the lender, I'm not interested in taking that risk. I'm not going to pay for this house I want and then wait a year to find out if I got it. And so, investors are making that decision based on these rights. The bankruptcy is sometimes a solution. If a borrower wants to stop a sale or try and keep their home, they might use a bankruptcy remedy, which would put a monkey wrench in the length of this sale. And there's other foreclosure defense remedies as well as solutions to keeping the home. So all of these play a role in the length of time it would take to foreclose in a deed of trust state, and also your rights in actually being the owner of that home on the day of the trustee's sale if you were the winning bidder. So those are important factors that you will want to look into and make sure that you are getting what you pay for. The other thing I will mention is that when you do buy a home at foreclosure, you are normally not getting clear title. You're getting title the way that it looks. And again, now I've heard that in New York, you can be the winning bidder the day of the sale, but you get 30 days to close with clear title. I was blown away, and I don't know the truth to that, but I was told by an attorney that actually bids in New York. So that's pretty wild to me, since it's completely opposite of what I see here in my own municipality. I would imagine there would be a lot of competition in an area like that where you actually get to buy at the courthouse and 30 days to close, so you wouldn't even need all the cash. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if this is accurate, but I find that to be a very sweet situation if that's the case. So let's talk about the judicial foreclosure process and timeline, okay? So it actually looks like we can foreclose even faster than the deed of trust states, 3 to 6 months. But I don't ever see one going that quickly. Typically, there's a lot of holdup especially when there's a lot of foreclosures going on. It actually backs up the recording time at the courthouse, and that backs up our process as well. There's a lot of remedies, and here in Florida, we've got now mandatory mediation. And so trying to get all the parties on the same page in a meeting can delay things as well. And so there's a lot of remedies available in the judicial process to delay the sale, postpone the sale, cancel the sale, etc. Okay, so, and again, when there's a fight, I have seen foreclosure cases here that have gone 8 and 9 years in my county. So that is incredible, right? A incredible amount of time for someone to actually fight and stay in their home that long. So let's look at the timeline here. First of all, same thing as before, we've got an area of time where we're missing payments. Again, that 1 month is all that's needed for a bank or lender to pursue their rights. And then they issue a notice of default. So, hey, you're in default, we're going to pursue our legal remedies. And then boom, they file a notice of action, and it's a foreclosure complaint. The borrower has 20 days to file a response, and if they do not, it's called default. They're in default, they default out, and the process continues on. If they do file a response, they need to file a legal reason why they shouldn't be in foreclosure or whatever it is, okay? But there's typically not a legal reason. It's usually just a sad story that I see. And yes, the stories are sad. And so that's why these folks need you to help them out, right? Okay, so the next thing is that they would have mediation set, or the judge would grant a summary final judgment order. And the summary final judgment is, again, it's a piece of paper that says, this is the date that we're setting your home for sale, and this is the amount that we're setting it for. So they might have a judgment against them between everything they're owed, all the late fees, the attorney's fees, etc., for $350,000. But the bank might let the house go for $80,000 that day. You never ever know. Sometimes they post the sale price that they want, and other times they do not. You'll just bid and get lucky. You'll think you got lucky, but you actually beat what the bank wanted. Okay, so the summary final judgment is issued. The world is on notice that this person's going to lose this home. This home's going for sale to the world on this particular date and for this particular amount. And then boom, that day comes, you have the foreclosure auction. In many areas now around the country, you can actually participate in the auction online. And in other places you would go in person. And so after the foreclosure auction, then there would be a writ of possession if the home was still occupied, the redemption periods were over, the redemption rights were over, the title is issued, etc. And that amount of time can vary depending on where you're at. So just like deed of trust remedies and bullet points, you would still have redemption periods, redemption rights, the possibility of a bankruptcy, and other foreclosure defense remedies, as well as solutions that the homeowner may have. And here locally in our area in Florida, the homeowner has a 10-day redemption right to respond by saying, hey, you guys messed up in this foreclosure process, you didn't serve me properly. They need to come with a valid legal reason why the sale should be reversed. Okay, so these are some of the things that can happen here locally, and and that's about it. It's very few rights and a very short redemption period. Therefore, we have a lot of people bidding at the courthouse trying to buy a deal. And so that's what the judicial foreclosure timeline looks like. All right, so in comparison, the judicial process can take much longer than the deed of trust processes. And when we talked about, hey, is time in your favor, this is what I found. Now, from a homeowner's perspective, of course, time's in their favor. It's the longer they have to find a solution to save up more money to relocate or whatever it is they want to do, they've got a roof over their head for a longer amount of time with remedies to stay under that roof even longer if they want it. Now, from a real estate investor's point of view, the longer a person has to stay in their home, the less motivated they are to make a deal with you right away. And it's harder to pinpoint them and get them to be decisive with a solution with you. The shorter amount of time someone has in the foreclosure process, the more motivated they are to make a deal, because they're looking at a deadline, on that calendar, that if I don't do something with Sharon by this time, I'm out of that remedy that she's got for me, and I'm out of my home. So I find that I have a lot more motivated sellers the closer they get to a sale date. So that means if we have a short process, I'm going to have more opportunity to work with a more highly motivated seller. And that's, of course, what we want as a real estate investor. So there are tons of ways to delay a judicial foreclosure process. I find that there are less ways to delay in the deed of trust. More time to make a deal judicially, less time to make a deal. Like I said, I believe that's in their favor. So most people procrastinate until their back is against the wall, and foreclosure is no different, right? We procrastinate in everything that we do a lot of times. So especially when something's painful and they want to avoid it, they procrastinate even more. And that's why sometimes it's wild that you see someone actually move out of their home and go somewhere else and disappear way before they've even tried to find a solution. They just think they have no solutions and leave town to avoid humiliation. And so we actually as investors try to track those folks down and say, hey, you still own that home. There's still an opportunity for you to salvage some of your credit and actually get some equity. And so we try to use that in our favor too, to deal with them. All right, so Lots of good information, especially if you are investing. This is great information for you to have in your arsenal. Benefits of educating yourself with the foreclosure timeline in your area as a real estate investor is that, you know, in your marketing, in your mailers, if you are mailing to people who are in foreclosure, then perhaps you want to schedule your mailings in that last 45 days once they actually have a sale date, or they have that final hearing where the judge is saying, here's your date and here's your amount. So you're going to find more motivated sellers in that time frame. If you are an agent and you're marketing, or a buyer and you're marketing short sales, well, then marketing for solutions for these folks is going to cause your phone to ring a little bit more as well. They don't want to lose their home, and if you can provide solutions that allows them to get out of their home with some dignity, or even provide a solution to stay in the home if you're a mortgage broker, this would be a good list for you to pursue as well. Networking with bankruptcy attorneys is great for you as a real estate investor working with folks in foreclosure. Bankruptcy attorneys and foreclosure defense attorneys are wonderful people to refer these homeowners to get legal and valid solutions that may work for them. And also, since you're networking with them, they can direct them, you know, refer them back to you and say, hey, you know, if these solutions aren't going to work for you, don't forget about Sharon. She definitely can help buy your home. Okay, and then of course, knowledge gives you that confidence because you know what you're talking about, you know how to do it, and you know what you need to do, which gives you credibility with these clients. You know, a lot of times when homeowners in foreclosure call me, I know from experience that they're all afraid. You know, they're all the same thing in common. They're afraid. They're not sure how much time they have. So once I can communicate with them and find out, well, what's the last thing you got in the mail? I can with confidence let them know, well, here's where you are in the time frame. And so, you know, I can and say, here's some solutions that I've seen work for other homeowners. You know, what are you interested in doing? What do you want to do with your home? And, you know, it gives them some peace of mind. And when I'm able to do that, it's more likely that I'm going to be the one that they're going to work with. And that's what I want, right? So, you know, definitely pursue looking up and getting more involved and getting the information for the foreclosure sales in your area so that you can help these particular homeowners. And if you are interested in purchasing homes in our neck of the woods, then we welcome you to email us and get on our cash buying database so we can let you know about our deals every single week. And lastly, guys, if you enjoyed what you learned about the foreclosure process and timelines, then we invite you to learn more about real estate investing and other amazing topics online via interactive video conference classes at learnfromgreen.com. When you increase your knowledge, you increase your income. Thanks for tuning in today.